Kicking off my Oscars Best Picture reviews is Roma. Hey, I'm Amy and welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about Best Picture nominee Roma. I am not going to be talking about every single Best Picture nominee, only the ones I haven't seen or done reviews for, which is only ones I haven't seen. I will be doing Roma, Green Book, Black Klansman, and The Favorite. There is a schedule of all the videos I will be putting out up there, and there will also be a Best Actress for Supporting and just Best Actress in general breakdown. So I won't be talking about the two actresses in this film that have been nominated for Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress. I will be talking about their performances a little bit, but I will be breaking down their performances a little bit more in this video that will be posted on my Patreon on Saturday. So with all of that out of the way, let's talk about Roma. Now, I had zero clue of what this was going to be going into it. I had heard a lot about it, but I hadn't watched any of the trailers, and I kind of had somehow stayed away from pretty much any news or anything about this, besides the fact that it was getting really great reviews, that Alfonso Cuarón had directed it, and it was starring a first-time actress, actually a couple first-time actresses, both of the housekeepers, maids in Roma that lived in the house. The main character and her friend were first-time actresses. If you look on their IMDb pages, this is their only credit besides some self-credits for interviews that they have done. Mostly the main character, I don't know how to pronounce her name. I think it's like Yazalita, hold on. Yazalita Apresico? I'm pretty sure that is wrong. I will probably tell you that is definitely wrong. And Marina de Tarviara? Yeah, that's probably wrong too. She plays the mother to the children that Yazalita's character Cleo sounds so wrong. I should know what I'm talking about. Cleo is correct. Okay, I was right. So she is nominated for Best Supporting Actress, and just right off the bat, both of these women were amazing. And for a first-time performer, Yazalita was stunning. She was so great. Alfonso Cuarón really knows what he's doing. So that's probably about as much as I'm going to say about their performances as actresses. Like I said, there will be an in-depth review going up on my Patreon, breaking down all the Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress nominees, their performances, and my thoughts on how likely they are to win their category. That'll be going up on Saturday. But today I'm going to be just talking about Roma because I have been wanting to watch this movie because I hadn't heard, well, I heard a lot about the reviews that it was getting, but I hadn't heard a lot about the story. So going into the story, I was very curious, and I like Alfonso Cuarón. I haven't watched a whole lot of his stuff, but one of my favorite Harry Potter movies was directed by him, and I feel like he really did set the tone for the way the Harry Potter series went from that point on, with Prisoner of Azkaban, and because of that, I have been a fan of his. But this film really there is so much to talk about with this film for me. The story is kind of boring. It is a very slice of life movie. There's not a whole lot, well, there's a lot going on, but it is just very slow paced. And it's almost like a day in the life, but it spans a big chunk of time. You don't really get a sense of how long it is. There's only a couple markers like Christmas, and I think they go to the beach at one point, but they don't necessarily give you a time frame for that. And you can tell the time frame. Okay, just off the bat, there are going to be spoilers. I forgot to mention that up top because I can't talk about this movie without talking about spoilers. But there is a section in the film where Cleo is pregnant. And so there is at least a span of 6 to 9 months, because she finds out she's pregnant. She's like 3 months pregnant maybe. And then it goes to maybe almost the end of 9 months. I think she starts having contractions around 8 months. But you kind of get this sense it's about the span of a year-ish. But it's just very slow. It just doesn't go where there's not much that feels like consequential, But I won't fault the movie for that because there is so much else going on just visually that make this film so great. For me, it is Cuarón's cinematography and editing and the sound design on this film. Those three things really bring this movie to another level for me that I feel like only Alfonso Cuarón or another great filmmaker could make a semi-boring slice of life film come to life the way it does. So let's talk about the story a little bit before I go into those three things I really liked, and I will go talk a little bit about each of the three. So with the story, it's just, there are some things, like I said, that don't really have any consequence. You feel like it's going to be leading up to a consequence, and it just kind of falls flat. So there's some stuff like the dog. They always have to restrain the dog from going outside. And the way we are trained with most American, like Western storytelling is they keep having to restrain the dog. The dog is going to somehow break loose and run out, and they're going to have to chase the dog. That never really happens. It does happen one time, but it's very brief. They capture the dog. Like, they don't capture the dog, but they stop the dog from running away and bring him back. And there's other things throughout that just don't necessarily feel like there's this one scene. It's a very minor shot. Cleo is washing the dishes and she leaves a tea bag in the sink with maybe half an inch of water. So I feel like with the way my brain is trained for storytelling, that this is somehow going to come back and kind of be something bad that happens. But it doesn't really come back. The only reason that it in a way comes back is the fact that the father, who is very absent and is a very big part of this in a way, even though he's not there, is like, he gets upset at Cleo and the other housekeeper, who I can't remember her name off the top of my head. The fact that they don't necessarily keep the house as clean as he would like. Yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about that, but it is a very beautiful story and ode to what I believe is Cuarón's housekeeper when he was younger, but not just his housekeeper, also mothers of all types, because Cleo is also kind of a mother to the children, especially when their father leaves and their mother, I forget her name. Oh my God, I should know the mother's name, but the mother starts to become a little bit belligerent. She becomes like belligerently drunk when the father actually leaves them, and she has always been, really, Cleo has always been these children's like surrogate mother as well as their actual mother. So it's really an ode to housekeepers and mothers of all different types, and I absolutely adored that. It was so beautiful. But overall, it wasn't the pulling factor for me. If I was going on this based just off the story, I would not rate it very highly. But the reason that I feel like this got nominated are the three filmmaking techniques, the three things that I talked about earlier. Let's talk about the cinematography first, because that is the biggest thing. Alfonso Cuarón was actually the cinematographer as well as the writer and director and editor. But first, the cinematography, it is beautiful. The opening credits sequence is mesmerizing. I could have watched and listened to that the entire hour and 40 something minutes that this movie is. It, like, you just hear Cleo mopping and throwing water on the kind of garage tile hallway thing that they have. And it was just so mesmerizing, because then whenever the water kind of goes over the tiles, you see the reflection of the sky, and then you hear an airplane going by and you see the airplane and the reflection, and it's just so mesmerizing and calming. I actually would really like to have a loop of that I can just play on my TV as I'm like falling asleep, just kind of low, or when I just need to zen out and meditate. That would be so good. And also, he just uses these kind of almost fly on the wall camera techniques that I absolutely love, that give it that slice of life feel, and even though I'm not a huge fan of the slice of life story, I really love the slice of life camera angles that he uses. They're very, if there's a move, it's very slow. Otherwise, it is just sitting there on sticks. And there's the scene at the very, not the very end, but towards the end. It's the scene right before we get that poster shot of all of the kids and the mother huddled up on Cleo. And Cleo, the camera slowly follows Cleo as she's trying to get to the water to save the two children, even though she can't swim. And the camera is bouncing in the water with her. And it's very emotional and it's very intense as well, especially with the third thing I'm going to talk about, so I will save that for then. But it's so beautiful and emotional, yeah, that's the word I'm going for, and simple and carefully done that it's almost unnoticeable unless you're looking for it. And this simplistic camera style also not only gives you this serene feeling, but it builds tension. Like I said, in the scene where Cleo is trying to save the kids from the ocean, but even more in the scene in the furniture store during the riots. Both of these scenes are built on their tension by the holding of the camera or the long takes or the simple static shots. The tension is just held there, and it is even like helped by the sound design in this, which I will again get back to. Which leads me into my second point, the editing in this. Because you get such long takes and wide shots, and in a lot of Western films, in scenes like the riot scene in the store or in the scene on the beach where Cleo's trying to save the children, you would normally get a lot of quick cuts in a lot of American or Western filmmaking because they want to give you that action. They want to intensify the tenseness that you normally would feel in this scene. And because of this lack of cuts and the sound, it builds the tension up. So that leads me into my third thing again, the sound in this. I'm going to use the beach scene and the riot scene as examples yet again. So on the beach scene, you don't get any music. Throughout this movie, you don't get any music whatsoever unless it is diegetic sound in the movie. And you don't have no non-diegetic sound, which is music that is not necessarily what you hear in screen, like on screen, from what is happening to the characters on screen. It is sound that is just kind of in the world around you, the viewer. And you just hear the beach noises. You hear the seagulls, the waves crashing, Cleo yelling for the kids yelling for help, or not even talking at all. And it, just that silence gives you just this claustrophobic feeling that you can't help but freak out with Cleo as she's trying to brave these waves because she can't swim to get these children that she loves and cares for almost as much as the child that she lost and their actual mother, because she is a surrogate mother to them along with her actual mother. And then in the riot scene, you hear the riots in the background. You hear the couple screaming for help after the protesters shoot them in front of everybody else. You hear the patrons in the store freaking out as well. But then you also get Cleo kind of just silently standing there, and the camera just slowly pans, and it's all one take pretty much, just Cleo and the grandmother standing there in the store next to some cribs as the father of Cleo's child barges in and points a gun at them, not knowing that she's in there, but then realizing who she is, gets away as fast as he can with the other protesters. And then it cuts into Cleo going into labor and that whole scene later on, which is another great scene in and of itself, the labor scene and Cleo having the baby stillborn. And it's so intense because you hear Cleo's agony and the baby, just no sound from the baby, and the doctors very nervously, not necessarily nervously because the doctors are professionals, but kind of trying to calm Cleo down after all of this happened. It's such a masterpiece, and I absolutely love it. So with all of that being said, last year for the Oscars, I had made a little graphic of how likely I thought something would win. I'm not going to do that this year, so I will just talk a little bit about how likely I think this movie is going to win. It's up there. It's like maybe 2 or 3. I don't know for sure. I would love for it to win. It is one of my top choices to win, I mean, Black Panther is like my number one choice, but I feel like that is kind of a long shot, which I will talk a lot about that in my actual full picks that'll be coming out the day before the Oscars. But this, I feel like, has a pretty decent shot of winning, especially since Cuarón has won Oscars before for other films that he has done. So definitely think that this is a great, it has a great chance of actually winning. And that is my longer than I thought review of Roma. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I feel like this has been kind of a divisive movie. A lot of people really, really love it, and a lot of people really, really don't like it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But thank you guys so much. I really, truly do appreciate every single one of you. Let me know who you are in the comments down below, and let's be friends. If you enjoyed this, leave a like and subscribe if you're new, because I love talking on these movies, TV shows, filmmaking, film history, all that fun stuff. And I'll see you next time. Bye!